Hmm. Travel advice. I might have a little bit. I think I can hook you up. Hey, Johnny Warrior for Expat TV. Today I got something a little different for you. I know I myself, and I actually don't think Gibby does too much either, but we generally don't give a whole lot of travel advice per se. There's kind of a reason for that, and a lot of it has to do with that, the minute you put something down, everybody says it's gospel, and then somebody finds something that's different, and you get crucified for it. And here in the Philippines, everything changes daily. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some advice relative to things that are a little bit more open and a little bit, maybe it may seem obvious, but this is some stuff that will really kind of help you out, and this is specific to the Philippines. All right, so hold on and let's start giving you a little bit of a list and a breakdown of what tips I think I should give you. First, it's going to be security. Security here in the Philippines is really not much different than anywhere else that you would do worldwide. And when I mean security, I'm really talking about personal security, the security of your property, the safety of you and your family while you're traveling. A lot of that is kind of key around some really common sense principles, such as always taking into account any travel advisories, not being in areas that the embassy or maybe some travel bloggers have come out and said, hey, you might not want to go here because it's a high crime area, or there's some actual conflict going on, ideology issues, whatever it may be. Being aware of that. That awareness is also part of it, and it's called situational awareness. Having essay of your surroundings and making sure that you know who is to your right and left, behind you and in front of you, keeping your head on a swivel, making sure that your gear is on you in the right places to where somebody bumping into you can't pickpocket you, etc. Becoming what's called a hard target rather than a soft target. There's a lot of things that go on that we concern about, especially here in the Philippines. There was a time that there was a lot of kidnapping of foreigners for ransom, etc. And there was a couple of phenomenons that occurred to that, and it really is those that were kidnapped were really soft targets. There was actually a Japanese husband and wife that was part of the last group down there in Mindanao, but they didn't get taken because they fought back. So being able to be ahead of the game, understanding the principles of, look, in a kidnapping situation, the ground that you are on, the space that you occupy, that's where the ground you defend. If they remove you from that, the odds start to decline quickly for you. Personal opinion, my personal training, that's what we've been told, that's how we've been trained, that's what I go by. So, the big thing is I just try hard not to put myself into situations where I am going to be a soft target or a target at all. Culture. Here in the Philippines, yes, the U.S. has had a big impact, and Spain has had a big impact here, but culturally, this is a third world country, guys, and there's a big difference, in the way their culture influences all your interactions. For instance, one of the things that'll irritate you is when you start driving around on a moped and you're driving down the road they're always going to walk out in front of you and they're not paying any attention to you. And there's a little nuance in it. You know, a lot of foreigners come over here and just make this assessment that, oh man, they're just, they ain't very smart, or, you know, they're not thinking or whatever. No, you got to understand, us as Westerners, we're really don't trust anybody. We're always in our mind, somebody's out to get us or get over on us or whatever. So we're more guarded towards that. Conversation before, I told you that our situational awareness is a little higher. Here, you know, they're a lot more laid back. They're a lot more trusting. They're a lot more kind of into the moment. So, you know, what appears that they don't have a lot of situational awareness is because there's a lot more trust relative to their that conveys out into their surrounding. So that is an example of how their culture and their viewpoint affects their everyday life. And it's like that in finances, business dealings, you know, just getting together with friends. You're going to have to learn to be patient because it is a lot slower here. You know, people are going to do it on their time. It's frustrating when you even go to government agencies and what they said yesterday is not what they want today. But you've got to be flexible and just smile, nod your head, and do what you need to do to get it done. The more you sit there and argue, the worse you're going to look, and the more they're not going to want to help you. And that's not going to help you meet your objective. Probably not a good thing. I think that's a pretty good tip. Don't lose your wallet. Communication. Yes, the Philippines is an English-speaking country. It's kind of funny because you're going to think that they don't speak English. Oh, they can understand it. They're shy and they think they're not speaking it well. And, you know, that causes them not to speak it. They'll say things like, oh, it causes me a nosebleed, funnin', of course. But the reality is they're going to get you. So don't think that you're making your snide remarks and they're falling on deaf ears, because there's very few regions around the Philippines that do not know some English. You know, it is an official language here. Now, there's places like in Bohol, near Taliban, there are places back there, they don't speak Tagalog, they don't speak English, and the type of Bisayan that they speak is very regional to that specific part of Bohol. You know, that's the flip side of that too. But you got to be patient. Speak slow. Speak clear, loudly, but not too loud like you're shouting. And make sure you're getting, if you've got to repeat yourself, just smile and repeat yourself. You've got an objective. They've got an objective. Together you can meet that, both of your objectives. And then notice I didn't say agenda. I said you guys have purpose in the communication, the conversation you're having. You've got to be flexible. You could always learn Tagalog. Relationships. A lot of misunderstanding in relationships. I've actually had a couple videos that I've done in the past, and if you're really interested in this particular tip, I strongly suggest that you go back and view those, because relationships here are not as, unicorn and rainbows as you think it is. Remember, there's two different, very different cultures coming together to make a household. On top of that, there's going to be communication misunderstandings. An example is in my relationship, my counterpart speaks extremely good English, but sometimes I just assume she's understanding what I'm saying. She'll nod because she doesn't want to seem like she's not understanding. And come to find out, there was a complete breakdown in communication and a complete misunderstanding. So sometimes it's good, go, you know, honey, did you understand what I'm saying? That way, you know, she understands that this is important and we need to communicate it. They'll come to the table. It takes a while for them to do it, but once they get over the shyness and stuff like that, get them mad once. You'll regret it. And that's the other thing, man. These people here are passionate. They're passionate about, not losing face and the way they're perceived in public and stuff like that. Do not sit there and be a douchebag and start yelling publicly at somebody that you're dating or you're married to or whatever, whatever that may be, or even friends. That's just not something that's kosher, and it can have some pretty negative effects. Mode of transportation. Now, you're going to be here from the short to midterm. There is no need for you to bother getting a motorbike, moped, car, anything like that. And what I mean is, if you're here for less than a year, just do the public transportation thing. The buses, they go everywhere throughout. Some of them, you can actually take a bus from Manila all the way to Bohol. Like, it's on the Ro-Ro ferries, and you just travel along on there. One ticket, and you're on it, and there you go. So it'll take you all the way to Tagbilaran. And there's airlines. It's not that expensive to hop from Cebu to Dumaguete to Manila, whatever. And the regional airlines are not that expensive. For instance, like from Tuguegarao to Manila is not that expensive. So it's not worth the hassle. And to tell you the truth, until you get used to driving in the Philippines, I wouldn't advise it anyway, because it can be kind of dangerous. You got, at a certain point, you're going to be defensive driving. You've got to drive like a Filipino in order to defend against it. So you're going to end up driving kind of weird anyway. So, it might behoove you to just take other means of transportation throughout. You got to-go water vessels. I mean, that's a ship that'll take you and carry you from like Manila to Cebu or to Dumaguete or Palawan. They've actually got a boat that goes to Palawan. So think of it as a non-luxury liner, that ocean liner that's taking you where you need to go. They've got some pretty cool things in their rooms. Like, you can get state rooms for 2 people, 4 people, 6 people. And they got room service in some of them. But the food's not bad, and it is a cheaper way to go in my book. It's funner. Who doesn't like looking at the ocean? I love it. So, just be smart. Always go cheap. And here's the thing with the Philippines. This is a cash-based society. Don't think you're going to come over here and just whip out a credit card and start. It's cash-based. So, when you travel, do it cheaply, so when you get to your objective, that you've got more to spend there. We have the best time traveling when we don't go first class on anything. Just go cheap. The hotel rooms are there just to lay your head down. Why get everything else when you can go cheap? And then you got more for the food, the sights, the sounds, all the entertainment, stuff like that. Trust me. It'll be worth it. If you're coming to the Philippines to hang out in your hotel, maybe you could stay home and go to a resort there. Just saying. Conduct. Now, each of these countries that we go to, whether it's the Philippines, Thailand, Vietnam, wherever, these are all sovereign countries. In my case, and for many of us, I'm an American, and I'm used and I understand and know American law. Now in the Philippines, it's not much difference, really. You know what's good and bad. You also know your conduct when you're borderline. But there's some nuances here relative to libel, slander. You could actually get in a lot of trouble for back-talking a government official. So there's just, if you're going to come across as, well, I'm an American, I'm going to do what I want. Asia's probably not the place for you. Go do that back at the house. Also, if, you're coming here, and this is part of the conduct and everything. I mean, look, people do things in their life that we regret. But if you're one of those, continual offenders that did the same bad things over and over and over, that's another thing. You're going to end up in the pen here, and going to jail in the Philippines is not a nice thing. So, drugs are a no-no. Don't try to con anybody or do anything like that, because you're just going to end up in trouble with the law or blacklisted. I know a guy in Thailand that can't ever come back to the Philippines because he conned a chick, and he's going to end up paying the price in the long run for that. But that stuff is real. It happens, and you can get in a lot of trouble for it. Finances. Look, guys, you need to be financially responsible and financially independent here. There is no, safety net, okay? I know, and you're not going to be able to work here until you get either a residency visa or you have a work permit coming here. So whatever fixed income you're on, my suggestion is, 1,500 or more. That's just what I'm saying. We say, well, we can make a lot of sacrifices to do this and the other. You're just going to end up looking for means and ways that are going to let you down. You're going to find a lot of YouTubers and people doing this internet stuff and teaching English as a foreign language online and all this stuff. Whether it's legal or not, I know like in Thailand doing that, you got to have a work permit for the thing that you are actually working for. For here in the Philippines, it's the same thing, but they're not viewing a lot of this stuff as, income based in the Philippines. YouTube being an American country, technically, a lot of these guys are U.S. citizens, U.S. residents. They're here on a tourist visa, blah, 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 blah. All right. The big thing is, are you taking a job from a Filipino or resources for jobs in the Philippines? That's the big thing and the hang up. So don't think you're going to come over here, and you're going to be on, less than $1,000 a month, and you can work and do YouTube or do whatever. Trust me, you don't make crap on YouTube. Don't think that that's going to be a rescue net. And honestly, if you're going to have to do so much work on teaching English as a second language to the Chinese students, you're not going to have time to do anything here anyway. You might as well stay in the U.S. and do it. Cost of living here, yeah, you can go cheap, but if you're living, if you live in a Filipino lifestyle, yeah, it can be real cheap. But I'm telling you right now that most of us who are used to a Western standard of living are going to seek that, and it gets a little expensive. In some cases, in some areas in the Philippines, it's just as expensive here as it is in any major city in the United States. Like if you go to Manila and you try to get that 2-bedroom or that 1-bedroom condo with all the sweet stuff and have a pool and it's all located nice and security, yeah, you're going to be packing bank, man. And then also living in Metro Manila, getting around and then going to the nice restaurants and all that stuff. I know I can't afford it. And trust me, I'm making more than the $1,500 minimum requirement that I'm suggesting. So I really strongly suggest that you take a look at your finances before you come here. Have a plan. Really do a budget. Pay your bills off before you even get here. I think if you look back into some of them, I actually talk about financial responsibility, and we have a video on that specifically with some tips and tips on how I'm planning and budgeting and stuff like that. You might want to take a look at that. Getting here. Yeah, that's a big one. Don't think, and I know that there was a point in time that a lot of people were buying these bogus onward tickets. They're not working anymore, man. they're actually going in and looking, if they don't catch it in the US when you check into the airline, and I'm talking about for US, that's where my experience is. I'm sure it's the same in Europe as well. If they don't catch you there, when you get to Hong Kong or Japan, they're going to redo it, and you're going to have to show your ticket. They're going to look at the ticket and see if it's a valid ticket. And if it's not a valid ticket, you're stuck. You're going to have to buy a ticket in order to get on. You have to have an onward ticket to enter the Philippines on a tourist visa. Once you're in, you'll get 30 days free, and then if you're going to stay, you have to go out request an extension. Remember, that stuff's not always guaranteed. In fact, I'm thinking that there's some kind of shift or something going on, because there's a lot of things that are going on relative to how tourist visas are being issued now. For instance, they're no longer giving the stickers, it's a stamp. What I'm understanding, that's a little bit more of a long-term thing. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some revamping on tourist visa requirements, international. You know, there's a lot of things that are going on here that have, you know, change written on the wall here pretty quick. So we'll see. We'll see where it goes. I mean, I could be wrong, and it could stay the same and whatever, but I really feel the air that there's going to be some immigration changes in 2019 that are going to be a little bit odd. And, you know, you can't piss and moan about it. You got to, you know, do what they say, do what they do, because it's their country and we're just guests. Did I mention not to lose your wallet? Man, they got the fireworks going off in the background. Kind of. So, you know, I'm real. See, there they are. Gotta love it. So, we're gonna go ahead and let you guys go. I hope these tips kind of helped you out. And, you know, hey, write us at johnnywarriortv@gmail.com. Let me know what it is that you guys might need specifically, and we can address that in a video. Also, if you would, please take the time to go over to our Patreon account. You'll see that tab at the beginning, or I'll put it down on a link. You'll have to cut and paste the link over and go to the account. But at least check out some of the stuff that we're talking about over there. And we got a couple surveys that are up. I think there's one now, and there's going to be another one up here in a day or two. Participate in the surveys. If you choose to support the channel through being a Patreon, we would greatly appreciate that, but completely understand if you don't. Hope you find some value into the things that we're telling you and the experiences that we portray to you. But until next time, I'm Johnny Warrior.